Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today's lesson we'll be discussing the graphical representation of externalities. We are doing chapter 11, market failure, and we have previously discussed all the causes of market failure, including externalities. Today we'll be discussing the graphical representation, and then we'll move towards the deadweight loss and its definition. And in the end, we'll be discussing the consequences of market failure. First, if we look at externalities in production, the first one is positive externality in production. Positive externality occurs when there's underconsumption or underproduction of a married good. So this curve shows the demand side, which is also equal to private marginal benefit that also equals social marginal benefit. Whereas on the supply side, there is social marginal cost, which is not definitely equal to private marginal cost. So on the production side, when we talk about externality, we do get to realize that married good is being underproduced. Why is it being underproduced? Because the free market forces fail to realize the benefits it can bring to the third party, the people who are not directly involved in the production activity of that particular product. So when we fail to realize the benefits it can bring to the third party, we just produce to maximize our profits. So we underproduce that particular product. So the quantity under the free market forces is this point, and the price is P1. So this is the point under free market forces. But if we would have considered the external benefit of that particular product, which is line from here to here, our new equilibrium going on the same curve where the marginal benefit and social cost, marginal social cost and marginal social benefit equals, then it would have been this point. So our socially efficient point of equilibrium would have been Q2 and the price would have been P2. So this entire area under the market failure becomes deadweight loss. This is the welfare loss to the people. Now, if we move towards the negative externality in production, we see that the demerit good is overproduced. A good that can bring harm to the third party is being overproduced. So on the supply side, we see that marginal social cost is less than marginal private cost. So we are definitely producing more than what it should have been produced. So we are producing at this point Q1. If we would have considered the external cost of that particular product, which is line from here to here, we would have underproduced that product, or we would have produced at this curve. Moving down towards this curve, we see that the equilibrium point is Q2 and the equilibrium price is P2. So this entire area, this triangular area becomes our deadweight loss or the welfare loss to the people. Now, as we move further, we see the externalities in consumption, negative and positive. When we see negative externality, consumption of PET bottles, we see that something that is harmful to the third party is being overconsumed. Overconsumed means over demanded than it should have been demanded. So our marginal social benefit is this point, this curve, whereas our marginal private benefit is this point, which shows that we are over demanding a particular product. So our point of equilibrium under the free market forces becomes this point. That is Q1 and the price is P1. We're not realizing the external cost of that particular product or the negative externality that particular product is producing. If we would have considered, then this would have been our socially optimal curve, and this point of equilibrium would have been the socially efficient equilibrium, where Q, E, and P, E are the social marginal social benefit or optimal equilibrium point. So this entire area becomes our deadweight loss. This entire area. Whereas if we move towards the positive externality in consumption, we see that there is a merit good which brings benefits to the consumer is being under-consumed. Under-consumed means under-demanded. So if our marginal social benefit is this curve, we are producing below that particular curve. So our market under the free market forces, our consumption is at this point where our quantity consumed is Q1 and the price is P1. But if we would have considered the external benefit of that particular product, which is from here to here, so this would have been our new curve, and the new equilibrium point where the social marginal cost intersects social marginal benefit, a new point, socially optimal point would have been this, where the quantity would have risen or the quantity consumed would have increased and the prices would have also increased if you would have considered. So now we have discussed the graphical representation of all these externalities. Now we see what is deadweight loss. A deadweight loss is a cost to society created by market inefficiency, which occurs when supply and demand are out of equilibrium. Mainly used in economics, deadweight loss can be applied to any deficiency caused by an inefficient allocation of resources. So basically, because of the inefficient allocation of resources by the free market forces, the area that the consumers could have otherwise consumed or could have benefited from gets, we lose it, and that becomes our welfare loss or the deadweight loss because of the free market forces and market failure. So now the question is, which of the following could create deadweight loss? These are the four examples given, four options given over here, and you have to choose which one can create a deadweight loss. Moving further towards the consequences of market failure. Now, market failure can have a number of consequences. The first one is failure to achieve efficiency. Competitive markets lead to inefficient outcomes for at least four basic reasons. First one that we have already discussed, externalities, then becomes public goods, monopoly power, and incomplete information. Because free market forces do not consider of providing a good that is non-rival in nature, non-excludable, or as they tend to maximize their profit, then they can also become a monopoly power, and they do not aim to provide the complete information to the consumers or producers. In all these cases of market failure, market prices do not exist or do not reflect the true value of what they are priced. These four phenomena can reduce the efficiency of private market performance. As we move towards the second point, it says failure to achieve social goals. As social goals is not the goal or the aim of free market forces, which aim to maximize their profit, so they do not consider the equitable distribution of income or resources. So this becomes another consequence. There are other consequences of market failure too. You have to look for them, and you have to tell that what can be the other consequences of market failure. If you have any questions, you can ask on the Google desk, and rest of the questions can be discussed in the live session as well. Thank you so much.